Boys and girls, we are looking at week 15. Our Tuesday column begins with thinking about this context. We have a soup can. The soup can holds 4/5 of a liter, but it is only one half full. So we're asking ourselves, what is one half of 4/5? To do this, we have to multiply. Remember that keyword of that helps us think about what is happening when we multiply fractions together. We are asking what is one half of 4/5? To do this, we multiply our numerators. 4 times 1 is 4. We multiply our denominators. 5 times 2 is 10. That's how we get our answer of 4/5. The soup can is 4/5 full. Let's go on to number 2. For number 2, we're going to write an expression to match how much the square is shaded. Remember, boys and girls, one way we are going to think about columns. Here, I need to highlight 4 out of 5 columns. We'll see this is already divided, 5 out of 7 columns. I'm going to highlight 5 of the 7 columns. We can see our whole is already divided into 7 columns. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We could imagine that we are highlighting these 7. That's 1 column highlighted, 2 columns, 3 columns, 4 columns, 5 columns. Now I see shading in 5 of 7 columns. Now remember our other proper fraction, we're going to be highlighting horizontally. So here we did 5/7 vertically. On this side, we are going to do 4/5 horizontally or in rows. I have 5 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We could highlight 4 of those 5. Here's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Remember, like you saw in the Monday column, our answer exists where we see it overlapping. Our answer was in these particular rectangles because that is where our rows, the 4/5, and our columns, the 5/7, this is where it overlapped. So I can take a look and I can see that there are 20 individual rectangles that have both shading. I'm going to write that 20 here just for the sake of space. Now I could look and see from my denominator how many rectangles there are in the entire space. So some of them have the yellow shading, some have the pink shading, some have the overlap, some have nothing. But there are 35 individual rectangles. 20 of them have shading for both the rows and the columns. That is where I get my answer of 20/35. Now let's come down to the Humpty Dumpty question. Humpty Dumpty is repairing his cracked eggshells with glue. Each of his 10 shells requires half of a bottle of glue. Well, how many bottles would Humpty Dumpty need in total? If I have 10 and they're each going to use half of a bottle of glue, you might be able to figure this just with mental math that we would need 5 bottles. If not, you could come and say, okay, well, if I have 10 and I'm going to need a half for each, I could multiply to figure this out as well if I don't know with mental math that the answer is 5. Remember, when we multiply a whole number times a fraction, we can put a 1 under it in order to be able to multiply our numerators, which is 10, and multiply our denominators, which is 2. I know that 2 goes into 10 5 times, which is where I get my answer of 5 wholes for the Humpty Dumpty question. Now let's come down to another question that is asking us to demonstrate or show multiplying fractions. Here, I'm going to shade 1/4 of, or multiply by, 1/5. To do that, I'm going to think about the 1/4 this way with rows. Here I have 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4. If I were going to shade the whole thing so you can see why and where overlap is going to occur, I could highlight that 1 out of 4 rows. Now this way, I'm going to show the 1/5 because I'm going to have some highlighting in one of the 5 columns. Where the overlap occurs is right here. So that moment shows 1/4 of 1/5. 1/4 of 1/5 has an answer of 1 out of 20 because one of my boxes has the double highlight out of 20 total squares. Now, down below we have one more where we're thinking of this diagram. Fill in the diagram below to show the following. 3/4. Well, I have shown that with my rows because I see 3 of my rows have highlighting out of 4. My highlighting, if I highlight those rows, I have 1, 2, 3. 3 out of 4 rows have highlighting. Now this way I could show the 2/3 because I could put the highlighting in 2 of the 3 columns. My highlighting overlaps here in this moment. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 out of how many total rectangles are there? Well, there are 12. That is how we get our answer to our final question for the Tuesday column.